who is going to be our final pre-selected pitch for today. There might be a surprise after. I see Brittany is up. Hello, Brittany.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, we can see you, loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thanks for coming up. I see you're standing up too, so you're going to draw lots of energy there.
That's right.
I'm going to ask for the clock to be put up. Once you see it on your screen, you're good to go.
Hey, I'm Brimo. My project is called God Loves Chris. It's like Boy Erased meets I Can Only Imagine with a little bit of the L word. Would you still love me if I were gay? I asked my mother this question a few years back, and thankfully I got a positive response. But Chris Quintanilla doesn't even get a chance to ask her mother this before she's ostracized from her church and kicked out of her home for being gay. This is the final nail in the coffin because she's already lost her father. So to numb all this pain, she's abusing alcohol and having one-night stands with any woman she can get her hands on. Her reckless behavior leads her to get fired from her minimum wage job. But because of that, she meets a lesbian pastor. Chris is shocked. Can God really love her as she is? Or is her identity a one-way ticket to hell? The lesbian pastor wants to show Chris that yes, it is possible to be gay and Christian, but Chris can't accept this. Instead, she continues on her reckless path and nearly kills herself when she mixes substances together during one of her sexcapades. Thankfully, her roommate and the lesbian pastor save her just before her carelessness leads to her demise. This wake-up call is exactly what Chris needs to realize that there's still meaning to life. She mentors under the lesbian pastor, and she reignites her love for playing piano and her dream of being a pastor herself. She finally feels like her life is on track and everything's going great. But then her mother, who abandoned her years ago, tries to come back into her life. Can Chris forgive her mother, or will she go on as if she has no parents? Would you still love me if I were gay shouldn't even be a question that any of us have to ask our friends, our family, or even God. Yet so many LGBTQ plus people have had to ask ourselves if God really loves us as we're getting kicked out of our families and our churches for who we are and who we love. Now is the time for a movie like this to exist. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was incredibly powerful.
Thank you.
And feels like a very personal and meaningful story. And I think that really comes through in your pitch. Elizabeth, thoughts?
100%. Thank you so much. I love the personal connection that was made right up front. It was very clear, very passionately told, and is something that I would want to see, and that I feel like many others probably would too. I think some of the only small thing I would say is, with the mother coming back in life, if there's anything that we want to elaborate on. Why is the mother trying to come back into her life? Does she have a change of heart, or are there any specifics there that would help fill in that portion of the story? And then also this ultimate dream of becoming a pastor and of piano and that passion, so that we get a sense of our lead character outside of this central conflict, which obviously is very important. But any smaller details that really humanize, I think, are really important in the telling. And I loved those and wanted to latch on and maybe hear a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. I think going back to her aspirations to be a pastor herself, why it's meaningful for her, family dynamics, all of that, super important. The one note that I have here is that I think that you're going to run into people that will say, but is it still real today? Because we have Will and Grace and we have, Love Simon, and we have all of these things. Is it still real? And is it still a big deal? And I think that it's really important to remind people that for a lot of communities and a lot of people, the experience of coming out hasn't changed, right? There's still a ton of rejection that can be involved. There's still ostracizing that can be involved. And I think that it's important to illustrate that at the top of the pitch, that while we have some representation on screen, usually white representation on screen, no offense to anybody on screen in any manner, but it's still not a complete 360 of representation of the gay experience, the coming out experience, the religious gay experience. So I think that if you can remind the listener of that, because I do think that there will be listeners that maybe haven't been that exposed to that experience, because they're like, but what are you talking about? Like, it's fine. It's not fine. Remind us of that.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you 100%. I mean, even in evangelical churches today, we're not always accepted. And if we are, we can't be in ministry. We can't preach. We can't play on the worship team. We can't even volunteer to do anything because they want to push us aside and pray the gay away, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remind people that this is happening today. That this is not gone. This is not a gone element from our society, and that acceptance is nowhere near where it should be.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for pitching, for doing
Thank
this.
you.